the truth to light, let the darkness fall. Hold them to account, we're standing tall. With courage and hope, we'll win this fight. In the snowy Monaro, bring the truth to light.
Many years ago, in a land far, far away, there were two men in a certain town. One was rich, and the other was poor. The rich man had a great many flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing. Nothing but one little lamb, which he raised with his own hands. It ate from his plate, drank from his cup, and slept in his arms like a daughter. But when the rich man needed to prepare a feast, he did not take from his own flock. No, he took the poor man's lamb and slaughtered it. Bombala has had its lamb. A railway, nursed and protected by the hands of its people. Cared for, preserved, fought for, not by the powerful, not by the wealthy, but by ordinary men and women who have given it life. For over a decade, Alan and Faye Simpson and the Friends of Bombala Railway have toiled, unpaid, largely unrecognized, preserving history for a future they believed in. And yet now, as a specific gang of councillors turns its gaze toward a new feast, a new vision, the railway is set to be torn from their hands, not by progress, not by necessity, but by choice. And like the rich man in Nathan's parable, they have decided, the poor man's lamb will be theirs. This is more than a rail line. This is a test of history, of justice, of what it means to honor those who have built before us. And today we tell the story of those who have been wronged. They say history is written by the victors. But what happens when history is stolen? When those who have toiled, preserved, and fought for something are told, without consultation, without consideration, that their work, their passion, their history will be erased? This is not just a story about a railway. This is a story about broken trust, about a community blindsided, and about a council that has made its decision before listening to its people. A decision that could see decades of heritage ripped from the ground, rails torn up, replaced by a cycling track that many say Bombala never asked for, never needed, and never wanted. But the fight isn't over. Today we sit down with Alan and Faye Simpson, the heartbeat of the Friends of Bombala Railway, to hear their side of the story. We uncover the years of struggle, the council's silence, and the environmental dangers lurking beneath the surface of this so-called progress. And we ask the hard questions. Welcome to Monaro Zone. This is the rail and the lamb.
So, Alan, tell me a bit about yourself. You're a Bombala local, you're retired, you used to work at the
Hardwood, pine, both industries, and retired, yes. Lived in Bombala or around the Bombala region for a long time. I wasn't born here, but yeah.
And you married Faye? Faye was a Bombala girl?
No, Faye came from Sydney. I spent a little bit of time in Sydney as a teenager, and we come back to Bombala together.
And this was in the 70s?
Yeah, 76 we moved back in. No, 79, sorry, 79.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's when you were working at the mills?
Yeah, sawmills, then moved out into the hardwood harvesting, yeah.
A true Bombala local.
Yeah, pretty much these days I would think, I hope.
And Faye, you worked in town as well?
Yes, I did. I worked at both the banks, Westpac and NAB. Now that we have no banks in town, I did some community transport, but now I'm retired. So if you want NAB or any of the other banks, you've got to go down the coast or even to Canberra. So makes living in Bombala a bit difficult, but we get used to it, and yeah, we survive.
It's a beautiful town.
It is a beautiful town.
So, what's your involvement with the Friends of Bombala Railway?
I am the president of the Friends of Bombala Railway, have been for the 12 years of our existence. I never had a job in the railway. It was just something we went over there one day. They had a tractor rally in town, and we went over and was up on the footbridge, and the footbridge was falling apart and had orange table on the side. And you looked around, and the grass was 6 foot tall and was very dilapidated. And I thought, I'd be ashamed to say to people that I live here. Faye and I, in 2011, decided to put a group together and clean up our railway and hopefully move on to different things.
But the other part of that was they condemned the footbridge. and we didn't want the footbridge condemned. They were going to pull it down. It was built in 1921, so it's over 100 years old. So it is now heritage protected, and they repaired it, and now they have to keep it to that standard. So
Yeah.
But initially, when it was in derelict condition, it was your efforts that kept the bridge alive.
Part of
Out
our
of the
efforts,
town,
we had some help from the
we had
council
a bit of help
manager.
from Bombala Council.
When it was the Bombala Council, then we had
So
a bit of
this
help,
was in-
a lot of help from him.
This was in 2011.
2011, yes.
Yeah, 2012 they actually started work on it. In 2012 we started a group, the Bombala Friends of the Bombala Railway. Not all of them are able to do anything. They're elderly. A lot of them are women. But we get along. We do well, and we get what we have to do over there. And yeah, so when we started over there was no rolling stock. There was nothing in the yard. So we approached different places, and we got a L truck from Goulburn, and then the rest of the rolling stock there, it used to sit on the side of the highway at Royalla, at the old Royalla station, and it had to be moved somewhere, so they moved it down here for us. So we now have all that sitting there as well. So
And the Canberra Museum, before it closed and then reopened, gave us back our original meat wagon.
the 1920 freezer van, which
Freezer van, yeah.
you pour the ice into the roof, the ice blocks into the roof, and as it drives along, the air circulation keeps the meat cool. Not frozen, just cool. So
We picked the ice. Bombala used to have an ice factory, so the blocks of ice would go from the Bombala ice factory to the station into the meat wagon, as I call it, and then it would go out to McLaughlin's and pick the carcasses up and then take them on to Cooma and Canberra.
Sydney, wherever they went.
Sydney, wherever they were going.
There is some great history in the Bombala Railway when you get to look at it and talk about it, yeah.
But it all sounds very expensive. So I imagine you guys have taken a lot of money from council for the
No.
restoration projects.
Cooma Council Snowy Monero Regional Council don't support us.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Nothing, no.
Nothing for the last couple of years or nothing?
They gave
Nothing at
us
all.
one grant
Oh,
of
they have given us a
$1,000,
grant.
but that was a grant we had to apply for. It wasn't just, we notice you're doing everything over there, we'll help you out. That's the only thing we've ever received from Snowy Monero Council. But Bombala Council used to help us with spray, the cost of spray, because it's not cheap. And they come up with other things too. I just can't think of what they did off the top of my head, but they would help with the mowing. They would give us some spray. They put the signs up for us that explain all the buildings and what happened over there. So I mean, we had a lot of help from Bombala Council.
But since the amalgamation,
No,
Yeah,
it's
no,
not even a regional
no,
council.
not at all.
Not much.
Nothing.
With that exception of that 1,000.
that 1,000. That's all we've had.
Which was a grant we applied for, yeah.
Which was a grant that anyone could have applied
Yeah.
for. I mean, it's not as though they just offered us $1,000 or said.
We were lucky
but
enough to be
we were
given
lucky
the
enough to
grant,
be
and we're
given it.
happy for that. It really helped. So,
I imagine that $1,000 would barely cover the cost
oh
of
look,
paint.
$1,000 would only
$1,000 only covers the spray
the weed spray, and
a year.
for a lot of years, well, even now, we pay for the fuel that we use in the mowers and the pump on the sprayer and all that. We pay for that.
Where does that money come from?
Street stalls. We have one street stall a year, which usually makes us between $800 and $1,000.
Yep.
And you maintain the museum, you maintain the railway tracks just with this money and with your efforts?
We don't do a lot of work on the railway track.
But we don't have the money to do it.
Well, we don't.
Once we do the spraying and the mowing, we roughly don't have much money left.
We have put up different fences over there for different reasons, for safety usually. That all comes out of the money we raise. But apart from that, anything else we do over there for projects and that usually come in grants from Snowy Hydro. Recently got a grant from Snowy Hydro. The Boko Wind Farm. We've had a couple of grants from Boko. They're usually great with their grants.
What are some of the amounts of those contributions?
Oh, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Boco gave us 9,000 at one stage.
11
11,000.
for the white freezer van.
Yeah, for the freezer van.
We had to repair it, paint it, fix it up, so it cost 11,000. So they paid for that.
Yeah, they gave us a grant for that.
We had a
Snowy Hydro. Snowy Hydro was 2,600. Say around 2,700.
Yeah.
That was to replace some of the signs that have faded in the sun.
That you can no longer read.
We haven't actually put them out yet. They'll go out soon. And yeah,
Who does most of the work?
the group does.
But yeah, the ladies do what they can around the station. Like
Which is
we use plastic chain in between the fences to stop people from falling on the track or whatever. Sometimes it gets broken, so they make sure it's repaired. They look after that. They keep the railway station clean.
We do the gardening.
Yeah, they
Under the
do
sign.
the gardening. And then there's 3 blokes that do the spraying and the mowing. And we have a working bee once a month. And we do
Make
it
sure
that
You
way.
don't take a salary from this? You don't
No.
get paid for this?
No. It's all
Just the
volunteer.
labour of love.
All volunteer.
The spraying used to take Alan 2 to 3 days to spray the precinct because it's 900 metres long. It's a lot of work to spray.
Yeah.
He would have,
When you do it by hand.
he would have to do the whole area by hand, so that he would have to go over and lift the
So-
pump unit onto the back of the trailer himself.
Recently, Crop Busters from Cathcart, which is a company, they offered to boom spray for us. They do it in an hour and a half, the whole lot, start to finish, and they use 500 litres of water and 5 litres of spray. It saves us a lot of money, and they do that for nothing. They volunteer their time.
Saves us a lot of effort too.
Let's give them a shout out.
Oh yeah, give them a shout out. Crop Busters
Crop Busters.
from Cathcart,
Cathcart.
and they've offered to do it whenever we need it done.
Oh, that's very generous.
Oh, it is.
I mean, I've just turned 71, so I'm starting to get a bit old walking backwards on railway tracks, spraying, and so.
And you've been doing this since 2011
Yep.
Yeah.
with no support from
No.
Regional Council?
No. Everything we have over there we paid for ourselves or has come through grants.
That's amazing.
And some of our museum pieces have been donated by locals. Most of them have been locals who've just donated different bits and pieces they've found around home. So that sort of adds to the authenticity, maybe.
Because most of the stuff that's donated has been used or comes from Bombala.
Yeah.
A gentleman gave us a 10-litre bucket with a shower head on the bottom and a cap at the top, and you fill it up, and then you open the little tap and you have a shower underneath it. That used to be over there in the fettler's shed, so they could have a shower. A cold one, but have a shower. So
It's a shame that we might be losing that history.
It is, because I think it's important to the town. And when you come into Bombala from Cooma, the first thing you see is the railway.
the railway. Yep.
So, it was important to us to maintain it. We do a lot of travelling. We do a lot of travelling to small towns. And it's that first impression you get really makes you decide whether you're going to stay in the town or not, whether you're going to stop in the town or not.
Yep.
And because that is the first thing people see as they come in, we want to keep it. And we want to keep it as close to what it was as we can, without changing the aesthetics of it, so that people are seeing what Bombala was and then they can see what it is. But it's only going to stay if it's maintained, if it's looked after. And it's only been looked after by us. I worry that if we stop, then it's just going to fall apart. It's just going to become dilapidated.
What would be your vision and hope for the future regarding Friends of the Bombala Railway as well as the railway station?
We have a vision, I suppose, if you want to call it that, of running pedal carts, which are they run on the railway line. You sit there and you pedal them. We did it in Tasmania in 24. It's a great enjoyment. It really was. It was great. So we had a hope to do that. We would love to see a train come from Cooma. We have recently, or in the last 2 years, sort of joined a memorandum of understanding with Cooma. We spoke with them when the rail trail people come along. and joined forces, and we always wanted the train to run to Cooma, are looking at probably running a steam train down here. So
And that's their long-term plan.
that, yes.
And if you get their feasibility study, is it called a feasibility study?
Yeah, feasibility
Or maybe
study.
it's just their projection
Business
for how
program.
they want to go ahead. They would hope to have that done by 2030. You know,
Would that be a viable project? A steam train?
I would think it was. We go for a lot of steam train rides in a lot of different places, and you usually have to book to get on. There is usually no standing room only. So I can't see why it wouldn't work.
what was
Is
it?
there rail between Bombala and
There, there are rails of sorts. They have been there for a long time. They haven't been used in a long time. The rail line to Bombala closed in 1986. So they've not been used or maintained over that period of time. There'd be a lot of work in putting it back together. Usually the work railway groups do is provided from money from grants or money they've raised themselves, and the work done is done by the volunteers. They don't pay people to come and do the work. So all that work's done by volunteers. So it'll be expensive, but not as expensive if you had to pay
Someone else
someone
to do it.
to work to do it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's our long-term look at it.
But not only that, I mean, you don't have, like, we've been to Puffing Billy in Victoria, and we've actually had to stay 2 days in order to get that ride. So, because they'd been booked out. We saw no reason why it could not happen here. You wouldn't run it every day, but if Cooma was coming here to play football, you could bring a train down.
Yes.
You know, people don't have to drive. They can come down, they can
Yep.
watch the footy, they can stay for tea, they can take the train back.
I think it'd be a great
Show
project.
days.
Yeah, show days, Bombala show days.
You could travel either
Our
way.
show is in the
It would be
15th.
fantastic in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You could probably even say on a Wednesday we'll run a train down at this time, and if someone has to go to Cooma for appointments, shopping, whatever, go to Cooma and then train leaves Cooma at a certain time to come back on a certain day. I think that would work. Back to the pedal carts, we want to run pedal carts. Basically, we'll start within the yard. The plan is to
Then
move
extend
out
out a
towards Bucalong, which is 9 k's away, and also add to that of an evening during the summer or winter, depending on the weather, to run pedal cart sunset tours. So you can pedal out of an afternoon, watch the sun go down over the snowy mountains, and then pedal back to town at your own leisure.
And you wouldn't require council money for this? You would be able to fund this through your own efforts?
We would have to.
We would have to, yes.
I mean, if council's not going to support us in spraying, I can't see them supporting us in a pedal cart, to be honest with you. We haven't tried to do this through council. We've got a lot of work to do before we would get to that point. But still, in order to get to that point, we've got to raise the money in order to do it. And as you saw, we had our street stall today. So
Which doesn't raise a lot of money, but it
that'll
helps.
add a bit more to the coffers. Bombala is a very generous town. There is a street stall here every Friday, and I think everybody makes around that $700-800
Yeah.
to $1,000. So you know, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a shame that at this point in time we've stalled because of the
Well,
rail
COVID.
trail group.
Yeah, but COVID came along, and that
Oh
didn't
well,
help.
COVID didn't help.
And now we've got the rail trail, so that's, you know, we're sort of 4 or 5 years behind where we would like to be.
Yeah, we
Only because of COVID and now the rail trail.
Yeah.
I won't put a big effort in until I know where we're going.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I don't see why I should clean this all up and then at the end of the day have council say, you leave, we're giving it to
And
this group.
it has to be said, there are 3 groups who want to use this railway line. 3 groups. And with the rail trail group, if they get their way, there
It'll
would
be
be
one
one group. That will take away our right to run pedal carts, and
And
it will
Cooma's
take away the right for Cooma to run a train from Cooma to Bombala. We suggested to them that they move their rail trail to the maintenance track, but they're in no way agreeing to moving it off the railway line. So we are stuck here in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
going nowhere.
And not knowing anything.
And
But there is plenty of room. They could put their their rail. We have no objections to their rail trail. They can put their rail trail beside our railway track, and we will help them maintain it. We will help look after it. With the three of us using the railway line, now Coomer's not going to run a train every day. We're not going to run pedal carts every day. I can't see people riding a push bike on it every day. Now, the rail trail people have told us that, or even Narelle Davis, I think it was Narelle Davis, someone at the council meeting said for every $1 we spend on this rail trail, they will make 3. Now, that's a lot of money. So if they spend $1 million on this rail trail, Bombala's going to make $3 million. Tell me how. When we had a meeting with the rail trail people, and I'm going back to 21, I think it was, when we forced a meeting with the rail trail. They've never spoken to us of their own choice. They've never tried to organise a meeting with us. And when we first heard about it, this was when they were putting their proposals forward. So we've had a meeting with them. And I mean, they were telling us that there was going to be $1 million influx into Bombala because of this rail trail per year. Now, each person who rides the rail trail, gets off at Bombala, is going to spend $300 in town. I don't know what you're going to spend $300 in town. If you rent a motel room, last time I booked it or had it for family, it's $120 a night. So then they're still going to spend $180. If they have tea, and there's only one of them, I'm talking one person on a bike, then that one person isn't going to spend much more than $50 on tea, and I just can't see they're going to spend this amount of money. No one's going to ride this trail in winter. It's too cold. It's way too cold. I mean, even 2 weeks ago, we had a 13-degree day, which means it was a lot colder at night. I can't see anyone riding it.
And Bob Stewart, has he been a great advocate for the Friends of Bombala Railway?
He used to be
Bob.
when he was in Bombala
Bob.
and he was mayor.
Yep, Bob used to be mayor of the Bombala Council, and
Back
yes,
then.
we got a lot of help from Bob and the Bombala Council in the early days, but then it amalgamated, and Bob doesn't get a whole lot of say in what happens anymore. So once we amalgamated, probably not so much from Bob.
But the other thing too is Bob is all for the rail trail. I'm sorry.
And always was. Even when we first started over there, he made it quite clear he wanted the rail trail. So
That brings me to yesterday's meeting, and there were 4 people against pursuing the rail trail.
Yep.
It was Rhodes, Rooney, Thaler, and Williamson.
Mm.
And I was very surprised to see Bob and the gang choosing to vote for the rail trail.
yeah,
What was your immediate reaction to that?
I can't tell you because
I
you can't
did.
print it. You can't print what I said.
I did watch the live stream. I did miss Ian Ware's
Okay.
letter that he read out to them. I joined it just after that, and I knew it hadn't gone well, and I thought, this is not good news. I didn't want to hear that. But under the circumstances we have at the moment, nobody's got the lease on the line, so nobody can do anything really, regardless of what council thinks. Nobody can do anything till someone gets the lease on the line. So it did concern me a little bit when they first mentioned it, and then someone brought up the asbestos and the silicon from the ash, and council seemed to sort of push it aside all the time each time they mentioned it. And I thought, surely they're not silly enough to go ahead and do this without approval. But I've since spoken to a few people today, and I think we're pretty much assured that we'll be here in some way, shape or form. So,
Do you want to tell us again what you first said?
No, I can't tell you because it wasn't ladylike. Maybe I should use those words. But I was quite prepared yesterday afternoon to walk away. Happy to walk away. Sit down on over fighting.
you're right. And that's the way it affects you. it hits close to home. So we put a lot of time and effort into it. So yeah, but anyway.
This is more than just a 2011 project. This is something that's very close to your heart.
Oh, it is. I mean, like I said, we put a lot of time and effort into it, and it means a lot to us. Every member of the group, it means a lot to them. But we just have to weather the storm, and that's all it is at the moment, the storm, until they figure out who's going to get what. And sadly, that could be another 18 months or 2 years away, which means I'm going to be too old to probably do anything because I'm already 71. And already my knees are starting to not work properly and this and that. So we'll see what happens. The other problem we have is volunteers, like getting younger people to join. It's hard to get people to join something that may not be there in 2 years' time. So, and then we haven't put a lot of effort into trying to find anyone neither, because there's no certainty that we're going to be there. So we sort of stumble along on the bottom of the barrel at the moment, and wait and see what happens.
This is after decades of serving the community for free. Does it feel like you've just been tossed away?
Yeah, after 12 years, it's a bit hard. I mean, the effort that went into it, like street stalls and functions over there, it will be hard to walk away from it if that's what happens. But hopefully that won't happen.
If you had a message to the council, what would you like to tell them?
Return to common sense. Let's think about it. Sit down. There's 3 groups wanting to use this railway. Let's be sensible about it. Let's put the 3 groups out there. Let's do it. But yeah, what can I say?
Well, I'm a little bit upset. Did you have a message for Bob if he was listening?
No. No, I really don't, because anything I would say to any of the councillors, they're just not listening to the people. I mean, Bob said that he had 90% of the people of Bombala supported the rail trail. But who were those 90%? I mean, I talk to people too, and I reckon I could come up with 90% who support the railway. So I think it's the perception. Bob needs to actually get out and listen to the people, not just perceive that, the people he's spoken to speak for everybody else. So, because I don't think he does. And I think there are people out there who support the railway, who also support the rail trail, who would support anything else that they thought was going to bring tourism to Bombala. But I don't think you can be pie-eyed. You can't say one thing is going to do it. 3 things would. If one thing's going to bring $1 million to town, would 3 things not bring 3 million? Let's put the feelers out there and make Bombala bigger and better, because there's a lot here to do, not just one thing. I mean, I can't ride a bike for peanuts. I'm never going to use the bike trail. There would be other people out there who wouldn't use the bike trail. And 70-year-old people, 80-year-old people can sit in our pedal cart. Not every single, if you get 4 people in a pedal cart, not all 4 have to pedal. So, you can get a mum and a dad and their 2 adult children in a pedal cart, and the 2 adult children can pedal mum and dad down the line. And there's all sorts of things we could do, they could do.
Yeah.
And if we did it together, if there's 3 groups all working together to improve what they've got, what we've got, surely that's better than segregating the community to one tourist attraction.
If they'd used common sense the first time round, they would probably have their rail trail in and operating now. But it got tied up in all sorts of legal problems and the rest of it. And it's going to be used before anyone gets anything. So
I just wanted to confirm, were you or the Friends of Bombala Railway ever consulted prior to this decision?
Not until they'd actually put their case put their,
the rail trail.
yeah.
We were never approached at all. We were the main group at the railway. We were never asked.
Yeah.
Never spoke to. Cooma, who leased their railway, were never approached or asked neither. We was, railroaded, if you like. They said nothing. We found out by accident. And
What happened was the Chamber of Commerce held a meeting, and the rail trail people were going to be talking at the meeting. And
Which Chamber of Commerce was
Bombala Chamber of Commerce, and I'm going back now 4 years.
Oh, it'd be a little while.
4 years, 21. And we heard on the grapevine, nobody told us, so we heard on the grapevine that the rail trail people were going to talk at the meeting. So we went along, Alan and I, as represented Friends of the Bombala Railway, just to listen. And we listened to them, and they got about halfway through their spiel, and we couldn't listen any longer because what they were saying, they said they consulted us. Well, nobody consulted us, ever. So,
heads the railway trail?
don't know. Couldn't tell you. Because we don't know. I couldn't even tell you how to get in touch with them.
They
we
have a
don't know.
Facebook page. They have a committee. I can't tell you who's on the committee. I've got no idea.
And they won't talk to me. So,
And when they do, they don't like telling the truth a lot.
but the point is, I know I keep saying it, but it just goes back to the fact council should be supporting all three. There is room enough in that corridor for all three of us to work comfortably, nicely together, and work together. And yeah,
You tried reaching out to any of the other councillors?
we've spoken to.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. We have heard the voices of those who have fought, not for wealth, not for power, but for history, for heritage, for the soul of a town. Alan and Faye Simpson and the Friends of Bombala Railway have given years of their lives to preserve what so many others had forgotten and neglected. And now, as council moves forward with its plans, they are left to ask the question, was it all for nothing? Locals that just want to save something for future generations. Progress should never come at the cost of erasing the past. A town is more than just a line on a map. It is the sum of its people, its history, and its stories. Yet, from the council chambers in Cooma, we see a decision that disregards those who have given so much to keep their town's history alive. A book of wisdom warns us, do not punish the poor for being poor. And yet, isn't that exactly what we see here? Volunteers who worked with their own hands, with their own money, with nothing but love for their town, now facing the reality that their efforts may be swept aside in favor of a plan they never agreed to. This is more than a railway. This is a warning. When decisions are made without community consultation, when history is treated as disposable, when the voices of the people are ignored, who will be next? Thank you again for joining us on Monaro Zone. This was Part 1, The Rail and the Lamb. Stay tuned for Part 2. Stay safe, stand for truth, and never stop fighting for what's right. Share this article, spread the word, and demand change. The truth belongs to all of us, but only if we have the courage to claim it. Together, we can shine a light on the shadows of governance and bring accountability back from the brink. But remember, the next move isn't up to them, it's up to you. Because in the snowy Monaro, transparency isn't just a policy, it's the difference between light and dark.